Hey everybody, welcome back to Advanced Kayak Angler. Appreciate you listening or watching on YouTube. If you would like and subscribe, Bass Kayak and Beers, or on YouTube, me and Armando sure would appreciate it. And I had a great weekend. Got to fish on a lake I've never been to before, Katoma. It's a Lake Katoma. I think that's how you say it, Katoma, up in Coleman. Had a great event. Won it. Yeah, and caught them on a swim jig and throwing a frog. So that's always a good day whenever you can catch them up in the grass on some braid. And because of that event, um, it made me start thinking about, well, let's have a show about swim jigs. Let's talk about swim jigs. One of my favorite ways to catch a bass. Love to talk about it. Yeah, I think it's something I know from north to south, people fish it a little bit differently, and we have a Tyler from the north, and then me and Chuck are from the south. So I know there's definitely some differences between fluoro, braid, things like that. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. So let me bring on Chuck, who is my shake and bake partner here. He got second in the same event. You got to shake it before you bake it.
You got to shake it and bake it.
What's up? Yeah, Chuck got second. So congrats to you, man.
No, congrats to you, man. I'll come second to you any day.
Yeah, same way. I've come second to Chuck this year. You know, a lot of times we go back and forth. So, yeah, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose Chuck. So, and we talk a lot. We're like fishing partners where we share our information and everything else. So, man, I really a lot of me doing well in the last couple of years has been being able to bounce things off Chuck. So, yeah. Sorry, everybody. Chuck's the reason I got so much of your money. So, there we go. But also, let's go ahead and bring in Tyler Daniels. How you doing, man?
What's going on?
Yeah, I appreciate you being on. And since you haven't been on show before, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Daniels. I'm from Central Ohio. Just a truck driver and dad, husband, and all that stuff. I'm also a tournament director for Ohio Kayak Open Series. And I just fish and hunt all the time. That's me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I actually just ordered a couple I'll say it, Hobie, your seat back string, stupid, dumb thing. You need to fix it. Whoever's listening is, it should not be a string. It should be a cable. I've broken two now, not because I'm fat, which I am definitely overweight. No argument there. But it's there's a burr or something inside my tube. So it slowly eats away at it. And because I didn't have one, I put some paracord in there. I went to Bucks Island, my shop. They didn't have any on hand, which most people don't carry that. And so we did it with some paracord, and that didn't last, a day. So half the tournament, I can't use my seat, and I'm sitting up, and I had to quit like 45 minutes early because my back was killing me because I am fat. So it's yeah,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it was killing me, man, by the end of the day. Trying to throw a frog in a swim jig and just not having, a little bit of something to put a little bit of weight on. Oh, it sucked. Having to sit up kind of Indian style on my seat. But I love my Hobie, love it to death. Best kayak out there, but it can be a little fiddly with a couple of things. And if they replace that string with some cable or something, it'd be an upgrade in my opinion. But yeah, so I'll quit complaining now. But I'm fishing on Friday and fishing on Saturday, so I had to order two from Strictly Sale. I'm going to put a bunch of tape on it. Hopefully, it won't eat away, so I can at least fish 2 days before Bucks Island can. I hate they're going like. I guess they'll have to give me a whole new chair. I don't know how. I don't think that tube is connected. Like,
if it's effective, they need to give you a new chair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm sure if they can, if that's what they have to do, the Bucks will.
You said you're going through Strictly Sale?
Yeah, that's
Brian, the guy up there. I'm actually going there tomorrow morning or whatever. So yeah.
Hey,
Brian, he sponsors our series.
Oh, okay. They had two of those seat back cables in stock, the strings. Yep. So if he's shipping my stuff, tell him there wasn't an option to get it here sooner. I just need it by Thursday at the latest. So tell him
to hurry up.
I'll send him some more money for shipping expedited or whatever he needs, but ship them out quick, man. I need them by Thursday.
He'll get it. I'll say something to him tomorrow, but I guarantee he'll get it out too. He's a good dude.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because if not, I'm going to be in some trouble. Yeah, so let's talk about swim. Yeah, so you fish in Ohio.
Mhm.
Well, I guess we'll start with you. One of the biggest things I was talking about before, and the things I find most interesting. What do y'all use? Do you use braid or do you use
So,
fluoro?
honestly, man, the guys around here, a lot of guys just use braid all the time for like everything. I'm the exact opposite. I am like a fluorocarbon guy through and through on most of my stuff, except for maybe flipping or a frog. That's about the only thing I don't use fluorocarbon for.
Okay, so how heavy a fluoro do you use?
I'm using usually between 15 to 20 pound. FC Sniper is what I use. Most of my stuff is 20 pound. Like for swim jigs, they're all 20-pound fluorocarbon.
Okay, Chuck.
I kind of mix it up. You know, when I think swim jig, I automatically think Coosa River water willow grass.
Yeah.
Technically, you don't need braid for that. So I'm the same way as Tyler, like 15 to 20 pound fluoro. But if I'm fishing like some heavier stuff, I'll go braid. But I fish a swim jig around wood a lot too, and that braid will dig into the wood and stuff make a bad cast. So, you know, trying to break off braid is not as easy.
That's my main reason is I flip wood and fish around wood nonstop. So I like never use braid.
Yeah, see, I'm 100% 50-pound braid all the time. That's it. Like if I feel like if I'm going to target just wooden stuff, I'm probably going to use a different technique. I probably wouldn't use a swim jig. Like I would throw a swim bait or something like that. So it's not that I wouldn't throw it on fluoro if the situation were right. Like if I were going to fish up north, I think maybe I thought the fish were maybe a little bit more line sensitive. The vegetation was different, but I never go up north to go fish, so it hadn't been a thing. So I could definitely see a situation where it would be needed, but down here I'm all braid all the time, man. All right, so another, I don't know how long the show is going to last. It might not even last that long because I don't know how much you can even say about swim jigs, but all right. So let's say rod. I think this is like probably the most important thing, but people are all over the spectrum from like flipping stick to to something super light. What are y'all using? Chuck, we'll start with you this time.
Most of the time, like a 7'3" medium heavy. If I like some heavy stuff, then I'll use 7 heavy, 7 foot heavy. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. You want something that's pretty light, not much tip, so because down south, I'm sure Dan fishes the same way I do. We're doing the Alabama shake,
Yeah.
so you're constantly moving the rod tip, the whole way back to the boat. So you don't want something like super heavy, and you want something with just a little bit of tip. You don't want a moderate like a crankbait rod, and you don't want something like super stiff, like an extra heavy, or like sometimes even a heavy. So I prefer like a medium heavy, fast action. That kind of gets me, what I want out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tyler, how about you, man?
Yeah, man. So I'm about the same way. I go between the 7.2 to 7.4. I got a jig rod and then like a kind of a flipping rod. And then sometimes I will throw a heavier swim jig if I'm in grass or whatever. I do have a rod set up for frogs that does have braid on it. So I will throw it on that every once in a while. And it's like a 7.6 heavy. So.
And that really does make sense too. It would be different if you don't have let's say you're not a big swim jig person. A swim jig is like an extra technique where you're not going to have a technique specific rod for it. Like
Right.
I love to throw a swim jig. So there's a few techniques I have that it's that rod, that's what it does. Some of the other ones are going to be more versatile. So for me, I just used it for the first time. It's the John Cruz the Cashin 7'3" medium heavy moderate, which is it's got a little bit, it's got plenty of backbone, but it bends a little bit further down. And I used to use, to me, like more towards a cranking rod. Like it would have to be heavier for sure, but not like a real flimsy one. But but something I do like something with a little bit more moderate bend. And I'll say this too, because I've went from a medium. I used to have this old Halo Twilight that it was a medium, and I used it. I eventually broke it because using a medium is stupid. But I loved the bend on it because it was so moderate, and I could really skip it. And that's another reason I like braid too, is because the braid I don't bird's nest as much whenever, because I'm skipping so much underneath trees or roll casting or whatever, and that's another reason I like braid. But a heavy is good too, but I do like that more moderate medium heavy because it's easier to skip as well. And I've thought about it, like I've used a heavy, but a heavy is too much. There is, in my experience, I would say like 1 out of every 100 fish, because it's a medium heavy, you won't be able to get it out of the grass. Like, let's say if I were going to Okeechobee, I would go with a heavy. And we'll talk about that some too with the different swim jigs that we use. But I think from my experience, I've been fishing a swim jig a long time, that a medium heavy, you might lose that 1 or 2 out of 100 fish because it's doesn't quite have enough power to really get them out of super thick grass. But I think you catch so many more because of the medium heavy, more moderate. You're going to hook so many more that the ratio makes sense. Like, you might catch, let's say with the heavy, you would catch 90% of them, but with the medium heavy, you're catching 98%. So does that make sense? So you're still there's a 2% loss in using a heavy rod because you can get them out of thick cover, or a medium heavy, but there's a 10% loss if you use a heavy to a medium heavy, because that little bit more flex, kind of like crankbait, gives them enough time to suck in that hook before you set the hook, because it's a little bit softer than heavy. So it's a long way to go around it, but I've tried so many, and I've experimented with them all. That's really where I've settled on, and that's where we fish, and the kind of cover that we fish. I can definitely see it being different: Okeechobee, Clear Lake, stuff like that. Yeah.
So also, you said the cat. Go ahead, Chuck.
Also, because it's like a sight fishing deal, I'm watching the swim jig the whole time, and you'll just see a flash, and you'll set the hook immediately. So I could see where that would help you too, Dan. Like using a little bit moderate, like a not as fast of an action, kind of let that fish get it before you kind of set the hook into him.
Yeah.
So I might need to try that.
Yeah, I really think there's like, I've went through all of them, and I really can tell you that medium heavy, it does make a difference. And I do like that Cashin too, because it's sometimes whenever you hook, same as a frog, that John Cruz, it's an expensive rod. I'm not saying that's one you have to have, but if you're looking for a high end one, it's got a like a cushion at the bottom so whenever it goes into your ribs, it's got a little bit of cushion on there, because after setting a hook a bunch on Saturday, it did hurt some, because you're setting a hook on so many. But
modest brag.
No, come on, I didn't mean it like that.
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that medium heavy is, I don't know. Like I've lost one before because it was a giant up in the grass. So I'm like, oh, I hate to lose that one fish, but I know how many fish it's helped me catch having a medium heavy. And you might lose that one giant in the grass because you just couldn't get it out, but it more than makes up for it.
Have you used the new kayak series from Cashin?
No, I haven't, but I've kind of explain this. I even have videos of Falcon rods, because I've used Falcon rods for years. In the past, I don't know, 8 months, I've been with chain shops. My old shop had Falcon rods, and I used those because I used to use the Falcon. It was the low rider swim jig rod, and I would say it's medium heavy minus. Like some are like medium heavy plus. That's like a medium heavy minus. Like it's a hair under medium heavy, which is a great rod. If you're looking for a more budget, it's $130. That's a great swim jig rod. I sold it and kind of forced myself because I wanted one a little bit heavier. But I could see, especially if you're up north, that'd be a great rod for it. But my new shop doesn't sell Falcon, so I wanted to check out some of the rods that they sell, and that's why I've got like 6 Cashins now, and I've just been like, I'm all over them. But no, I don't have any of the kayak ones yet.
Yeah, I've pretty much switched most of my stuff over to Cash, and I just really like their stuff. And those new kayak rods, they got the shorter butts or whatever on them, and it makes it pretty nice. I like that, so you're not like hitting you in the side the whole time or whatnot. But yeah, when I'm doing a swim jig, I'm medium heavy. Like I said, 7.2 to 7.4 medium heavy. Yeah, I need to have that bend in there just for that reason. So
up in Ohio, are y'all like shaking it on top, or are you swimming it?
So I have tried both, and I've had luck out of both, and I've been skunked on both. So I mean, I don't know, whatever mood I feel like I'm in.
Yeah.
Honestly, most of the time I'm not a person that just sits there and just reels it in the whole time. I usually try to do something to it, but I'm not doing the whole Alabama shake most of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I have tried it and I've had luck out of it. So I can't say it doesn't work up here.
All right. So how about reel and speed? We'll stay with that. I want to start, I'm excited to talk about trailers and the jigs themselves, but what kind of reels are y'all using, Chuck?
Just a 7-speed. Right now, I think I have the mainly the 150 Corrado MGL, but I also size one a lot too. That's probably my favorite because you're really not bomb casting swim jigs, or at least I'm not. I'm more of like making short, accurate pitches or casts or skips or whatever. So like that smaller profile reel with a smaller spool, man, that's pretty much all I use right now.
I'm using the 7-speed also, but I use Lose BB1 Pro.
There you go.
For most of my stuff, I just love that reel. So.
Oh yeah, that bulletproof and casts a mile.
Yeah, it does.
That is a good reel. I used to have one I used on my deep diving crankbaits whenever I still have a boat. Yeah, I swear I could almost throw all the line off that reel. It absolutely bombed it.
Nice.
It makes it super nice for like flipping to and pitching and whatnot, just because it's so easy to come off the reel.
Yeah. But so me, I've got I've got like 3 of them for all my braid stuff. It's a Quantum not Super Duty, Quantum Smoke HD is what it is, but it's great braid reel. If it's got the big, I like the little bit bigger handle, where you get a little bit more power reeling it in, because you are, especially with that maybe medium heavy rod. I'm thinking about whenever I'm throwing in the back of that grass, sometimes they'll be spawning, or there'll be like a grass line out front, grass mat, and then open water behind, and you want to make sure you hit that water behind. So I'm thinking about whenever I'm casting to the back with that medium heavy, that I want to be especially conscious of getting that fish out up on over the mat and trying to get them moving, so they're not going to dig down into the grass. So that's having that big powerful reel is a big deal.
What gear are you using, Dan?
It's 7 something.
7. Okay, I didn't know if you used the 8 or not.
No, I mean, for a long time I used all 7s for everything, because I thought it made sense to, if I blew up a reel, with sometimes you're going nest one, you can't get out. So just having a 7-speed reel for everything, I could swap them out for different things. That was my thought for a long time. I've kind of gotten a little bit away from that. I would say there's a few things I like. My spinnerbait, ChatterBait, I use a 6-speed. That's a dual purpose deal for me. But there's a few different things that I do have a specific gear ratio, but most of them are all 7. I think maybe if you go with an 8, you lose a little bit of power. But sometimes, I mean, swim jig, like Chuck said, it's close combat. So sometimes they'll take it and they hit it so fast whenever they're moving that they'll come at you. And if you don't get on that reel quick, you can't catch up with them. So I could see an 8 making sense. Maybe if you went up to a heavy rod, you could use an 8 because you'd have the power of the rod, but lose a little bit of the power in the reel. Maybe that would be the compromise there.
Yeah.
But I like with that medium heavy 7.3 or 4 or whatever whatever it is.
Yeah,
7
I tend to use 7s on just about everything too.
Yeah, I don't use an 8 for anything.
I think I have an 8 for like flipping and pitching and frogging. That's I do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, the fun part.
Yes.
Jigs. What kind of jigs you using?
I'm using them all.
Huh? Now, Tyler, you have a jig sponsor, right?
Yeah, I'm with 2K Jigs.
Okay, well, here we'll let you start then, because
Yeah,
I've never used any of their jigs. Sell us, man.
Okay. Well, I will. I will use their one that they're famous for.
Uh-oh.
This is called a deposit swim jig.
Okay.
Now, what they're known for on the deposit swim jig, you see how
narrow, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Comes through grass and everything. Really good. Gamakatsu hooks on it. And
if you're just listening to us, that it is probably the narrowest head I've ever seen on a swim jig. So I mean, I can definitely see how that would get through grass well.
Yeah, it's really good. So this is their main thing that 2K is like big on. It's a copper hand tied skirt, and it's living rubber. So like all the other jigs and stuff, when you just throw it out, it's sitting there just moving the whole time, where the silicone will fall down eventually or whatever. But yeah, man, really high quality jigs or whatnot. But this is my favorite one to throw. Like I said, it's got that narrow, real thin head. This is a 1/2 ounce too, and that's usually what I try to keep everything is 1/2 ounce. And I think this is like the widow. So
okay, this
is like kind of imitating like bluegill. I mean, it could be shad because you still got some white in there or whatever. But yeah, that's one of their jigs that this is the one I throw most of the time.
1/2 ounce. So you don't have a lot of grass up there though, right?
No, I mean, yes and no. There's one lake last year that was like the whole lake. It looked like you could walk across it, and it was absolutely terrible. It just got overran. But yeah, I mean, we got grass up here.
I mean, it makes sense because we have so much bank grass that a 1/2 ounce a lot of times would be difficult to fish. But I could see, like you were saying earlier, if you're fishing mostly wood, like it's it has a little bit different purpose of the kind of waters that you fish.
Now, one of my other favorite swim jigs, this is called a poison. This is like their poison jig. I don't know if you can kind of
football swim jig.
Yeah, so it's like a flip and swim because I like to flip a lot of wood and stuff. And I mean, it's still the same thing. Gamakatsu hook and whatnot. But that head in there, you're still able to swim that and get it through grass and whatnot if you need to. But this one is one that I like. Just it's versatile to where I can just do a lot of pitching and whatnot, but you can swim it pretty good too. But so yeah, and then you got your regular swim jig. Yeah. Just like all the other ones. So yeah, those are the couple that I got, other than the real big flipping jig that you can still swim, but I mean, that's 1 ounce. I really feel like swimming a 1 ounce jig.
Yeah, it'd be tough. Chuck, how about you, man?
I mean, down here, everybody throws the dirty jig, swim jig. So this is actually a 1/4 ounce. So it's a little bit smaller head.
Look, you trimmed the skirt underneath, huh?
Oh, no, this one came like that. I think this is more like a finessier one. It's not the no jack, but it's a little bit finessier. I don't know, but it looks pretty good. So I picked that up. It's got a good beefy hook on it. I mean, you're not bending that out, even with braid. Pretty good weed guard, which that's not as important. Just got to keep the grass off. that's one of them. The other one that I like to throw is this missile one. It has kind of that head that you mentioned on your second one, Tyler, like a little bit kind of a rounder-ish, but it's also still a little bit skinny too.
And it's a smaller profile.
Yeah. It's that, I don't know if I said it's the missile baits one. It's pretty good. My buddy in Coleman, Matt Nilsson, he makes a pretty good swim jig. I don't have one of those in my hand right now, or I'd show you, but that's a good one. It's more like the dirty jigs with the cone looking head or the narrower head. And he's got a good beefy hook in there. And then, you definitely want like a decent hook keeper on them. All these have like the lead hook keeper, pretty good bite on them, for your trailers. So my colors of choice, mainly just white. I will get crazy and throw a black and blue every now and then on like Lake Jordan and stuff. That's a good like a sneaky bait up there. But for the most part, I'm going to try to imitate a shad. Even if I think the bluegill are spawning, I'm still going to just throw a white, because I don't really think it's more of like I see a bluegill, I'm going to eat it. It's just I see something, I'm going to eat it. It's a reaction bite more than anything for me. And plus white's easy to see, so you can really tell if it's. Sometimes you don't even see the fish hit it, and your swim jig's just gone, and then that's your indicator of like, hey, set the hook, dummy. So that's kind of my little rundown. I'll throw the Strike King one too. They have a pretty good one.
The Hack Attack.
Yeah, the Hack Attack swim jig. That's a really good one. Surprisingly, of all those, the one I like throwing too is a Guggen one. But it's got a hand-tied skirt on it.
Come on, Chuck.
It's got a good hook.
Don't bring that Guggen stuff on Advanced Kayak Angler.
Get that crap out of here, man.
Like, hey, you see it at Walmart or Academy, it looks like one to try. I like to try them.
I got some of their crankbaits. They're, it's not like all their stuff.
That's I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the hand-tied skirt, it's got probably stiffer than you would want weed guard, so you do need to clip some of the strands out, but. I mean, I'll throw them all, man. Like I said.
Yeah, and that's a big tip too. Like, because some of these swim jigs, they come with these super beefy weed guards. And I think that's one of the reasons people's hookup ratio is so bad. Like, if you get one of these, like, trim it. It doesn't have to be like super long. A lot of times, like if you bend it down, you want it to be exactly. If you're just listening to us, you want whenever it bends down to be just over the tip of the hook. You don't need a bunch of extra because then it's catching on the grass. And you don't need it to be 842 strands of weed guard either, because then the fish is never going to be able to get that weed guard down. Like, trim it enough to where you want the least amount on there possible. Yeah, and I was honestly admiring all the weed guards on those 2Ks. All of them they do not look very heavy. Yeah.
Well, they're not heavy, but like, so this one is their flipping one, so it's obviously got more. But like their deposit swim jig that they're known for, there's like 6 strands or 5 or 6 strands in that, and they get it at the back point there, in that barb. They cut it off there already, so you're not worried about that. But me, like everybody else, I haven't done nothing to this one, but I will cut it. Cut all the strands off of there. And I still kind of, if you have some that's the weed guard is too much, you can kind of cut it at an angle too.
Yeah.
Just like what you did, Chuck. Now, Chuck, the dirty jigs one that you had up there first, did you cut the bottom?
That's what I was saying. It looks like you cut the inside.
Yeah.
What's up?
It looks like you cut the inside skirt.
It came like that. Like,
I think you got a janky one.
There no. It maybe I don't know. Maybe I did cut it. I'm not. Honestly, I can't remember.
You cut that.
I don't know. Maybe
I've never seen any cut already.
Hold on, I don't see it.
That's Chuck's secret. We just found it.
No,
I kind of like that. Different.
I think if you were throwing a swim bait on there, cutting that underskirt would be, would probably be better. I'm all the jigs I throw are dirty jigs. I'm pretty OCD about my color, so knowing that I can go across separate jig lines and use the same color, because not that there aren't other great ones out there, but whenever you carry, like, here's a perfect example. I like some Z-Man baits. I really do. But like the shaking the head worm, you don't have the color of the deal. So I can't use a bunch of like I have to, like if I know the deal works, I want to be able to buy the deal in every soft plastic color that you like, at least all the worms. Like so I can say, oh, the deal, like it's for a kayak angler, I'm only carrying 2 or 3 colors. So I have to, if I can't line them up over all the different kind of baits I want, it freaks me out. Like like it just I can't do that. It's not possible in my head.
B-Lad. Hey,
Yeah.
B-Lad. Shaking my head worm in the deal.
Dude, I put that on this thing because I love like I'm sponsored by X Zone. Well, I'm on their team. Not that they don't pay me any money, but I do love their baits. But I do use the bang stick because I love that bait and I love it in the deal specifically. But yeah, I use 3 different swim jigs. 90% of the time, I'm throwing just if you look on Tackle Warehouse, it just says the Coosa River version. It's like the standard,
Is
and
that
then
the no jack one? I can't remember.
no, it's the regular one, like
Oh.
it's the in between. I don't use the finesse one. I don't have an application for that, but I do use the no jack one. Like if I'm going to Gunnersville, sometimes I'll put that on if I have some. If I don't, I'm not. But if I am doing a trip to Florida, I will buy up some no jacks. I usually have a couple in the box, but it's not like I carry doubles or anything.
Yeah.
And I do also carry some something I started doing earlier this year, and not even long. And I bought a few because one of the Exxon guys, Carl Jacobson, don't know him. I fear his heart. I hear that's a thing. But he on Seminole and Okeechobee, he was using a big swim jig with that 5.5-inch mega swammer from Exxon. So I bought some because I want to try it. And I didn't catch any this weekend, but I do have some in my box. I'm ready to throw that. So I have the California swim jig, and I'm going to put those big X zones on there. I could see that around like Gunnersville or somewhere where it's more like thick grass lines, not like bank grass where it's a little bit thinner, but like coming by grass.
Mm-hmm.
That's I could see that being a player. Instead throwing like a standard swim bait, you're throwing it on a swim jig. And that California swim jig has the hook gap is a little bit more, like it goes back a little bit further. And that's why I think it's better for that bigger 5.5-inch swim bait. That's why I have those rather than using them on the regular or the no jack. So that's the 3 I use. And the colors, I use white if it's the water's super dirty or shad spawn, something like that. This weekend I used all white, black and blue, or black, blue, purple, somewhere. Either one's both good. That's good in like super low light conditions. And my favorite one after the shad spawn, I'll say it, I shouldn't say it, but that dirty Jigs Alabama Brim color, real nice. Like you throw that with and I'll get into it here in a second, but that X Zone 309 color, them two together like peanut butter and jelly, you're going to get bit. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't try that combination here in Alabama or somewhere in the South, you're not catching all the fish you can. That and you can throw it in the Cinco, you can throw it that color. You cannot like X Zone, but buy that color and all the kind of baits that you use. I think Tyler's writing it down.
Yeah.
But that 309 color, I'm telling you, gets bit.
I think that would do good up in Ohio because they're not really like fish heavy up there, right? Like they don't have a bunch of threadfin. It's like mainly bluegill, right?
Bluegill, gizzard shad, a lot of gizzard shad everywhere. So, I mean, I'm throwing a lot of black and blues, a lot of whites and chartreuse and like green pumpkin. Like those are my couple colors that I use. So that's about it. A lot of brim though, a lot.
Yeah, but that 309 color, like it's like a light, like especially whenever the water like super clear, that 309 and that Alabama brim color, it's lights out, man. That's it. And that's like literally one of the best, not secrets, but some of the biggest juice I've got out of everything I throw. Man, that 309 color and that swim jig like that, bro. If you win some money, you gotta cut me off with that. You gotta like send me a $5 or something in the mail because you're going to catch some money on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ends up with like 500 $5 bills or something.
Is that like a light bluish green color?
No, it's like it's a super light green pumpkin, almost like pearlescent with a purple and a gold flake. And with that Alabama Brim's Dirty Jig Swim Jig color, them two together, I'm telling you, it's like they were made to go together.
Okay.
It's special, man. It just is. But I'm telling you, I'm not trying to get into a thing on X Zone, but in that color and a Cinco too, you going wacky rig it, dude.
Just hold on.
I don't even know how many fish I've caught on it. I couldn't even tell you. I've caught all the fish. Like half the fish I've caught have been on that color.
Dang.
Not really half, but I've caught a bunch of them. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. That color, whenever it's clear out, especially in the summer, brim beds, whenever there's brim spawn, yeah, like mayfly hatch, yeah, that's it, man.
I'm trying to find that color.
It's legit. In the jig or in the X Zone?
In the jig.
Yeah, we'll tell him to make that color, and I might check out some of his jigs. But he has to make it in that color in all the different ranges, because I really did like the thinness of that jig, like that. I really did appreciate the what was it the paycheck, bankroll, deposit. That's what it was. I'm thinking money. It was. Yeah.
Are you
But
sure it wasn't the 420?
No, man, it's called 309. X Zone 309. I'm not making that up.
It's just a Dan exclusive color.
Come on.
Yeah.
You could even hear Brandon Pollinix talked about it. Look here. Look, there it is. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, it's got the ear.
I got it now. I was looking at the Dirty Jigs. I was thinking of them.
There's his Alabama Brim.
Okay.
But yeah, pearlescent on one side, green pumpkin on the other.
Yeah.
With the purple and gold. Yeah.
That's what those buckshot D-bombs, they look just like that. The ones that still sold at Bucks Island, like their own color.
The buckshot?
Yes.
Really? I didn't see that.
They look good, man.
That's that color. I don't know why. It might just be one of those things where it's just me. I have confidence in it. I feel like if I throw it, I'm going to get bit. But that color to me is something special because I'll go ahead and, since I'm just rambling, I'll go ahead and talk about the trailers I use.
Sweet.
95% of the time, I'm using X Zone Adrenaline Crawl Junior. Before I went to the X Zone, I did throw the Rage Menace, the Strike King Rage Menace, and that is absolutely like you could buy one or the other. Both of them are like equally as good. They're almost the same thing, but that Rage Menace is a good versatile product you can use for all different flipping. Like Greg Blanchard used to use it for flip. It's like a good small flipping bait if you really want to get into some thick cover. It's just a great all around, great for finesse jigs. But it's the same way with the Adrenaline Crawl, where it's great all the time. Or I'll use a 4-inch X Zone Swammer, it's just small swim bait, a little bit more durable than a Kitech. Yeah, it's pretty close to a Kitech. And the only time I really use that is whenever I'm around big grass line. Not just bank grass, things like that. That's really the only time I'm ever going to put a swim bait on it. Most of the time, I'm throwing a craw trailer, whatever you like. And I throw a 3/8 too. I didn't say that. I don't throw a 1/4 ounce. I throw a 3/8. But I think because I do the Alabama shake thing, I keep it high up in the strike zone that it doesn't really. A 3/8 is good all around to me, except for in that big California swim jig. I use a 1/2 ounce because that swim bait has so much lift that you need a little bit more weight in the head to keep it down.
So, yep. Yeah, I throw the 3/8 like 90% of the time. The 1/4 ounce maybe if I think I need to. Like if I need to keep it up in the water column and work it slower, that's how you can do that. But you can also change your trailer out for the 3/8 and get the same effect. And I hardly ever throw a 1/2 ounce. So
Yeah.
But
what trailer are you using?
All right. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. The Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl.
Yeah.
Just get you some. Bite the first nub off. I'll just pull one out real quick. Show you how I do it. Always bite the first like nub off right here, and then take these 2 top claws off, and then it looks more compact. You might think, well, why are you doing that? You can just get like a chunk or something. Well, I use these for a lot of other stuff too, not just swim jigs. And then the other one is a little bit newer, but the missile chunk, the D chunk, or the mini D chunk.
Yeah.
This here is a really, really awesome. It doesn't have as much kick as the Zoom Ultra Vibe, because the Ultra Vibe, you probably know this, but it's got the claws, and you get a lot of good vibration with it, and it'll slow the jig down a lot more too. With the D chunk, it's more of like a normal chunk style. So, and then I'll change the color up, like a black and blue. I'll just throw a black and blue trailer on there, and in either one of those brands.
And the Zoom is great. Zoom is great because of the price. It's not too expensive. Same with the neck bait pocket crawl or pocket crawl junior or pocket chunk. You could do the chunks. Either way is fun. But that's super inexpensive bait. If you're just trying to get into this and you're trying to keep it cheap and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can get that a net bait or a Zoom, and they're a little bit less expensive. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so I throw a lot of times. I'll throw like the Rage Swimmer if I'm doing like shad imitation or whatever. A lot of time, or like the Rage Tail. Those are really good. That tight kicking action.
Is that the Menace?
No, just says Rage Tail.
Oh,
Here,
okay.
I'll bring them out.
Sorry, I couldn't see it.
No, you're good. But I do throw these quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a Menace. That's
a
a Menace scrub. Yeah.
This one says Rage Tail.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is Rage Menace.
Yeah.
I was looking at them.
Hey, I'm telling you, if I didn't throw the X Zone, that's what I'd be throwing.
Yeah. So I throw these a lot, but
that action is so tight. Do you do it side? I've heard.
I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah. Do you do it sideways or do you do it?
If I'm doing like the shad, I'll do it sideways. But if I'm like brim or whatever, I might do it horizontal. But a lot of times I'll get a bigger crawl out if I'm doing like imitating brim. Bluegill up here is what we usually call it. So, and I'll throw something where I can get a little bit higher in the column, a little bit bigger kicking action. So I think those are like the 6 cents.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the prawn.
Stroker. These are stroker crawl.
Oh,
but the prawn has the tighter, like the Menace does. So I could go back and forth on those, but I use these a lot because just how wide and wobbly they are. I think it imitates a brim pretty good. So, but the Rage Menace, I use that a lot for a lot of stuff, not just the swim.
Oh yeah, and that's the best part about it, especially being a kayak angler, that Menace, like whenever I went to adrenaline crawls, like if I'm going to replace this with something else, it's got to be as versatile. And they really, jig trailer, swim jig trailer.
Yeah.
I'm not like finesse jig, flipping, like you can just do some, you could put on a shaky head or all different kind of things. Swing head.
Have you ever taken one of the tails off of the Menace and just left one flapping?
I've had it bit off, but it still gets bit like that.
Yeah, I've done that quite a bit too.
Not intentionally, but I'll still throw it for a while.
Gene Jensen, I got that from him where I took one of them off and did it that way.
It's a great bait. I don't do it I don't do it vertically because I'm not that good at putting soft plastics on things. Like if I do it, it'll lean over to its side. Like for some reason, dude, I don't know how many years I've been fishing now. 40. I'm 44. I've been fishing all of them but 4, and I still can't rig something up perfectly all the time. Like, every time. Every time I do it, it's always a guess.
So I've really been trying to put like a swim bait on the back of a spinner bait.
Yeah.
And I can never get them to swim straight. Like it's always coming in sideways. I'm like, I can't do it. So I just take it off. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I know a lot of people do it, and I tried with the different ones. The spinner bait I throw now doesn't, the accent one, like it doesn't have a hook keeper, which I have to glue it, and I hate accent. Get it together. Like, put a hook. You have a great spinner bait. Put a dang hook keeper on there.
It's because they're not trying to use a trailer.
Yeah. Well, I just use a zoom split tail, just because I want something for the fish to target. So I think it's important to have something on there. But same with Tyler. Like, I don't like the lift of a swim bait. I don't like rigging it. I don't like the durability of it. I think if I just that zoom split tail solves the problem of giving them a target, because it's a little bit further behind, so they don't hit the blade, but it's doesn't have enough meat to affect the action, and it's so small whenever it goes on the hook that even without a hook keeper, it stays on there without coming off. Now, I'll tell you another secret. If you put white ones, this would totally mistake. If you put white ones in a chartreuse bag, the chartreuse fades onto the white ones, and then you get this like muted chartreuse. Bruh. Like I've tried to make, I don't know how long it takes, but I've got like experimental bags going in my garage trying to get that chartreuse off there. I know that sounds stupid, but
this I put in 3 months.
yeah. Like I put on my lab coat, and I've got my beakers, and I don't know, but it will fade off onto that, and then you get like a super light chartreuse. Oh, that's so money.
So thinking of that, do you guys use like any dips or dyes for your stuff? Like when you were saying that, I was thinking JJ's Magic, and whatever I think about JJ's Magic, I think about how awful it smells.
I have, you know what? I carry dye pins in my, like, I have a bunch of dips, but I carry the pins, and sometimes I'll put something on there, like on my hooks, or like I'll do some different things. But like, I had a buddy, Brandon, I fished with in college, and he would dip the ever loving heck out of every single thing he had. Flukes, swim jigs, it didn't matter. That dude was getting some dip. And I just, I've never seen it to make a difference. And then by the end of the day, his fingers are like, I mean, he lives in Clanton, dude.
You're good.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, if you live in Clanton, your fingers should have some chartreuse on them or something. That's just how they are. But every day, at the end of the day, he would smell, the boat would be covered, and he would have all of his fingers would have chartreuse all over it. I've tried it. I just never seen it to make a difference. I will dip sometimes if I want like a color I can't get, like if I want a little bit of red, like, or a little bit of orange in the winter, I will do that. But chartreuse, I haven't noticed a difference.
Well, they say chartreuse will just turn white after being in a water depth, however deep it is. It just turns white.
Yeah.
So that's just what I've heard, at least. So
I think it's a fisherman thing.
Yeah. Well, I've been using bait fuel a lot last year. Yeah, I used a ton of it last year, and I mean, I did pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see.
And you just put in your bags the soft plastics?
No, I just put on the stuff when I get ready to fish, and I'll put it on a couple times, like on my jigs and stuff. I'll put it on a lot. Now the swim jigs and moving baits, I don't put it on that, just because I don't really think it matters on that. But like if I'm pitching or doing anything, I usually put it on that, and it's a lot better than getting out the JJ's Magic and smelling the whole time.
I could see it for baits that you're going to soak, like a drop shot, whatever, or baits that are just sitting in the water for a long time in one spot, or you're moving slowly, where you're really getting a lot of water across it, and it's staying in one spot. I could see that working. I haven't done it, but I've said on the show before, I do carry bang spray, but that's more of a mental thing. I just put on there just because it gets me hype. I just
You do
whenever,
it. Valhalla just you don't even
yeah, like
do it.
Mad Max. Yeah, well, I mean, I've said before, whenever I want to get excited, like I need a pick me up or something, instead of drinking coffee or something out there, I spray that bang on there and I start yelling. So if you hear me just out on a kayak going bang, 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 then it's Dan's not having a good day and he's trying to hype himself up. Things have not went good if I'm out there yelling bang.
Oh man.
It's a real thing. I really do that too. Like
Yeah.
that's not just me saying something. That's me. I can get ignorant out there. So yeah, that's me. I don't know. Shouldn't have said that on something recorded.
Nah.
But yeah. So what a mess. So techniques. You have the slow roll. You have the just keeping it. How are you? Okay, let me say it this way. Chuck, we'll start with you. When is swim jig time? Like when do you say, I need, like this weekend, or
Dude.
when you fished a frog all the time, which that was the right bait for that too, obviously getting second. But when do you say like this is swim jig time?
I was a little rusty, fishing up shallow. So it probably would have been yesterday would have been the best time, like kind of how you were doing it. But anytime they're like missing the frog a lot, like if they're not committing for that top water, is a good sign. Throw the swim jig. Maybe they want something subsurface a little bit. It's for like time of year, anywhere from April to whenever the grass starts dying back. You can throw it in the summertime, all summer. It's a big staple for the Coosa River over here. So everyone throws a swim jig over here. I mean, go watch the Elite Series on Neely Henry, West Logan. Pretty much everybody in the top 10, except for maybe one or two, were throwing a swim jig. So yeah, it's it's pretty much a year-round technique, I would say. Maybe like not the coldest of the winter, and maybe not dog days of summer, but other than that, you can pretty much just throw it.
Yeah, Tyler.
Well, you got to think like bass are always feeding on shad, like all the time. So it's definitely imitating a shad, so that they're going to eat it no matter what. But I'd say early spring pre-spawn. I do a lot of pre-spawn. When the water's 55 to 60, I think is pretty good. They're trying to feed up, and I don't usually do it during the spawn, but after post spawn and stuff, they're trying to feed back up and whatever. I'll do it then. Our summers are not like terribly hot up here, so I mean I do it all the time, really. I mean, except for when it's like super cold. So I don't know. I throw it quite a bit. I always have one tied on. I always have a swim jig, a regular jig, and like a Texas rig tied on nonstop. So I throw it a lot.
I'll say one other situation. This is kind of I got it from it's like a Clint Davis post. He's an Elite Series guy from here. He put this like years ago on a post, and it was you put a toad on the back of a swim jig and you throw it like early. He didn't say all this. He just said, those who know, if you know, something like that. And I started trying it, but early, like late winter, super, not even pre-spawn yet, like late winter, first few weeks of pre-spawn, you can, on sunny days, whenever there's a bunch of dead grass and you get dead grass mats, and the fish will kind of get under it to sun because it's warm. Man, you put that toad on a swim jig and you just slow roll it over a mat, kind of like you normally would a toad, but I mean just super slow. For some reason, that down here is like a killer technique, and something I think it's something nobody else is throwing. So whenever they get underneath the mats and it's the only thing they see up on a mat, it's like, oh, what is this? I'm going to eat it. But it's hard to, it's not really like a top water deal, but I've had some good days doing that too. So a little something weird there, different technique, but
Juice right there.
yeah, oh, I think so. I mean, it's not very, it's only good for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks that's actually a deal, but it is a deal. I could see it being a thing right now, like way up north.
Yeah.
Ice out, well, I think ice out fishing's just easy anyways, but I don't know. I don't live up there. But yeah, swim jig, I throw it same as I said, spring to fall, great technique. Just, one of those things, it just gets bit, especially compact, like, with the Rage Menace chucks, yeah, with the missile, the compact one. Yeah, it's, ultra vibe cutting down a little bit of it and having a little bit smaller compact kind of deal. It's a bait that'll really get bit. And I think about docks too, or underhanging like this time of year, like pre-spawn. I mean, not pre-spawn, but post-spawn or um, shad spawn. I'm thinking underneath whenever you're chasing shade, that's during the summer too, and you're chasing shade on a bank and you see those shady spots underneath trees or underneath docks and you're chasing shade in the morning, just that last bit of shade. Yeah, getting a swim jig, you can throw it anywhere. A lot of times you can think of it like a chatterbait, a 4x4 chatterbait without the chatter. I mean, that's all a chatterbait is a swim jig with a blade on the front. But so yeah, it's obviously what it is. But yeah.
I prefer this over chatterbait though.
Oh, I do too. Like
Just because,
I seldom ever throw a chatterbait. A chatterbait to me would be like same places I would throw a swim jig, except for a lot sparser grass.
yeah.
Like this weekend, whenever we were fishing, there was one area in the very back of a creek that had a lot of super sparse, kind of flat.
Mhm.
That's whenever I think of a chatterbait, but
Yeah.
most of the time I'm at that swim jig could work there too. But yeah, chatterbait's probably a little bit better for that.
So I think like around me, a lot of people throw the chatterbait and spinnerbait nonstop, it's all the time. So
Yeah.
you get that something a little different. They see something that's not making all that noise or whatever, and you're sneaky in there. I think it works a lot. I don't think a whole lot of people throw a swim jig, honestly.
It's like
It's
a more finesse type deal, in my opinion.
yeah. It's same thing like square bill with a rattle, square bill silent. Like it's sometimes, especially high pressure, if they hear that they don't want all that sometimes, especially on a little bit more bluebird skies, low wind, those kind of days. Going to a swim jig, yeah, yeah, dude, getting paid.
Get paid.
That's right.
But yeah, back to the technique. I didn't say how I fished it. Maybe I did, but I always just most of the time I do the Alabama shake, so just keep it up top. Now, if I'm fishing like on the Coosa River, in the summertime that grass gets thick and it makes kind of like a line, I will let it just fall over the side, and dude, you'll get a lot of extra bites doing it like that too.
Yeah.
Like so, like into the grass or through the water willow. Once you get to the edge, just let it fall straight down and hold on.
I mean that's a good point too. A swim jig, and I mean first and foremost, it is a jig. Like
Yeah,
you can flip it whenever you have a swim jig in your hand. It's a great junk fishing bait because you can hit wood, you can hit grass, you can flip it, it just does a little bit of everything. It's not perfect at being a flipping jig. It's not perfect at, doing some other things, but it's a great all around moving jig. So if you're just this is also a great technique if you're just looking to get into jigs, get you a 3/8 or a quarter-ounce swim jig or half ounce if you live up where Tyler is and you have less rocky wood, things like that. um half ounce would be good, but get a swim jig and just tie it on, swimming around. If you're looking to get in jigs, it is a great like entry point into that too.
yeah, and you don't even have to do the shake. You can just
Yeah.
out slow roll it back. Because naturally, like when you hit like a piece of grass or something, you're gonna try to pop it off anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you eventually like you're gonna be doing like you're gonna put action into it. Is what I'm saying. Like if you get on a piece of wood, you're gonna try to shake it off. Hit a piece of grass, you're gonna try to clear that grass off. So
And same thing. I mean, everybody does it different. The tactical bassing guys, they think everybody that does the shake is stupid. Like They're
They're
like,
kind
put a swim bait on it and don't do the shake. Or, you could do it that way. You could do the crawl trailer in the shake, or do whatever you want to do. That's what I'm trying to say is, like, you can do it a lot of different ways, still get bit. You don't have to do it a certain way or have a certain line or a certain jig, that just get out there and throw a jig out there and just swim it around. Figure it out. Do what feels right.
That's right.
Yeah. Hold your mouth right. You'll be all right.
That's what you got to do when you put your plastics on, Dan. Hold your mouth right.
I'm just always going to suck at that.
So back to what you're saying, like it's very versatile, especially get one like what this one is, like with a poison jig, where you can, it's still skinny enough, but yet it'll still stand up kind of if you flip around wood or whatever. That's if somebody is just getting into it, some kind of jig like that would be perfect because you can use it for all situations, not just one certain thing where you're just swimming it or just flipping it or whatever. So if you're just getting started out, that's what I would do. I'd find something that's versatile.
I think Buckeye sells like a pitch and swim. I know somebody else sells. Hey, it's called Pitch and Swim. I don't remember what company, but
I mean, you can swim almost all jigs,
Yeah.
really. I mean, you get a ball-headed jig and you can do it. A ball-headed jig is one of my favorite things to throw, and you could still swim it in. So
that's right. All right, well, that's it. Swim jigs.
We covered all, Dan?
We've said it. We've said it all. Great bait this time of year. Shad spawn. Pre-spawn, shad spawn is probably like, oh, that's the best. And then whenever the brims start bedding, another great time. And then the fall, you go back to a shad pattern. So it's, great bait. If the water's warm, great bait. But that's it. Want to give you a chance. Shout out any sponsors, anybody that makes fishing easier for you, and tell everybody where they can find you. Chuck, we'll start with you. And if you don't post that video about that frog, I will be very upset with you. Chuck got so mad at a frog this weekend on his GoPro, he cut that damn frog off and threw it on the bank. He didn't put it in the tackle box. He threw it on the bank, and I love it.
If I lived closer, I'd find where that bank was.
And I missed, not when you hear the name of it, I missed 7 fish on it. And Dan texted me, he said, hey, I got a limit. I've caught 5 on a frog already. And I'm like, I'm throwing a frog and I'm getting bit. So it was a jackall Kiera frog, or however you call it. Dude, it's not like they were nipping at it. They were sucking it down and taking it under. And I'd set the hook, and I felt the tug back. So I knew that I was like, they were getting it. And I cut that thing off and put a Booyah pad crasher on like a normal human being, and started wearing them out after that. So I don't know. I need to edit or put a few beeps in there, but
you gotta do it, man. Please post that.
All right, I might.
Right. You got to.
But I gotta thank my wife. She takes care of my baby. Or our baby when I'm fishing, and all the parents. And I got to shout out, even though I'm not with Bucks, I got to shout them out. The big
Bucks.
Y'all, if y'all are looking for a good boat, well, the deal's over now, but I got a Hobie for a hell of a deal in March, and maybe they'll bring it back, but get you one there. I think that's about it, man.
Chuck Wise Fishing on YouTube.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel?
Just Chuck Wise Fishing. I might post that video on my YouTube.
Yeah. Go subscribe to his channel. It's really good.
I really don't talk that much. I need to talk. I'm going to try to talk more and like do voiceovers and stuff to explain what's going on. But this last video at Katoma, man, dude, my GoPro was freaking out. So I only got like half the day. Luckily, I got all my good catches, except for one 17-incher. But people are going to get to watch frog fishing on a GoPro. That's awesome. Yeah, exactly. I'm not staring at a live scope screen, so all these haters, can be happy watching me set the hook on or miss 7 bites in a row. And but yeah, man, it's small. If y'all want to watch it, feel free. But it's really just to make memories and show CC later on. Hey, look, this is what Dad did.
There you go. Great channel though. Please go subscribe. Tyler, how about you, man?
Yeah. I got Bioenno battery. That's
Heck yeah,
one.
great batters.
Yeah, and then like I said, 2K Jigs. I'm on their promotional crew. Strictly Sale. I'm not sponsored by him, but he sponsors our trail. And Brian, like I said, he's a great dude. There's AJ Slavin Fishing here, close to where I live, and they're just a little bait shop. I can't. Hang on a second.
He's got his daughter with him there.
She is driving me nuts, man.
Wow, it's
3-year-old. But
Yeah,
I
we
definitely
both
gotta
like
thank.
kids.
I gotta thank my wife because running a tournament trail. We went last year. It was good because it was like the most I had was 16 people. Our first tournament this year was 45 people.
Oh,
So I was like all over the place, and it's been pretty crazy and hectic lately. So thank her for helping me and just watching her while I'm doing all this stuff, and because it's a lot. I never realized how much goes into running a big tournament trail. So
yeah, me and Chuck are both committee members on the Iron City.
So
God bless the TDs. We appreciate
oh my gosh, man, it can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but I like it and it's a lot of fun. And then I try to fish the tournaments too, so that makes it even worse. But I got a couple guys that we have in a little committee or whatever. So it's good, but it's a lot of work. But Ohio Kayak Open Series, I want to shout that out. Anybody in Ohio wants to come join. Our second event is this coming Sunday, a week from today. So, and it's at a terrible lake. Well, it was a terrible lake. I've heard it's been doing pretty good, but our first event with 45 guys, 4 people caught fish. 4 fish were caught out of 45 people.
Yeah, I love grinders. That's my jam, man.
Oh, dude, I like them too, but not that bad. I mean, it was rough, straight mud, and yeah, it was pretty bad. So.
Well, I'll do it too. I never shout out my sponsors. Z Pro Power. If you're looking for a battery, Bluetooth, all that good stuff, been totally happy. I was on Bioenno before that. They make great batteries too. No shade there. Exxon Lures, obviously, I talked about the Adrenaline Crawl Jr. Great bait. Check them out. If Polinick and Jacobson are throwing them, it can't be that bad. Don't just listen to me. Bucks Island, like Chuck said, get your Hobie, Jackson there. I just got a bite. My creek boat, very happy. Great people to do business with. And last but not least, the Yak Gadget. You got a kayak. You need some accessories. Get them from Yak Gadget. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all listening. We'll see y'all again next week. And thank you again, Chuck and Tyler, for being on. Y'all be safe, and we'll see y'all out on the water. Not waiter. Water.
See ya.
All right. Later.